Brings us to item 4A, consideration of zoning amendment to allow chicken coops in Santee residential areas. All right, I brought this one up, council colleagues, because I've had various emails, people talking to me, and the Union Tribune did an article on it, so did Channel 10. What I wanted to do was bring it before council and see what kind of appetite council had in pursuing what I call urban agriculture. Many people, and it's become very important in San Diego, are doing backyard gardens, hens without roosters, proper setbacks, etc. Some cities are allowing front yard gardens. So instead of a grassy area, you might have a corn crop. People are into that. One of the advantages of allowing hens is simply you get great fresh eggs, no hormones, no chemicals, and you save money, and doesn't cost very much, just chicken feed, you know. So what I wanted to do was bring this forward because it is important to various citizens, and I wanted to see what council direction might be if you wanted to have staff look at it and do it in detail. That's where we're at. Would you like to hear speaker slips? I believe there's some pro and con, or do you have comments right now? And this is not a hill I will die on. This is not a giant, you know, thing for me. I just wanted to be responsive to concerned citizens.
Well, I have comments, but I can hold till after speakers.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, we have 2 speakers in opposition and a 3rd speaker slip in opposition but not wishing to speak. Our first speaker is Adela.
Hi, I'm Jean Emmons. I live at 10841 Grand Fork Drive in Santee. Chicken coops. There's a reason Hillikers has a sign on their fence notifying everyone there's an egg ranch, and it comes with odors, flies, noise, dust, irritants, inconveniences. That if you buy a house or build a house next to an egg ranch or a dairy farm or train track or a racetrack, at least you make an educated decision that going in, you know what's there. To bring in something on lots that are just the typical track home lots, and I don't care how much you love chicken, I do too, dipped in an egg batter and fried. Manure, chicken manure does not smell good. It attracts flies. And being low in the food chain, they also attract predators. I have to admit, when my kids were little, they had the Dairy Association and Poultry Association of California used to have a free pancake breakfast in Riverside, and they gave away to every child there baby chicken. I'm sure PETA has done away with that by now. But we wound up with my 2 kids' chickens and one of the surviving ones from the neighbors. And my border collie loved to herd them in the backyard. However, we backed up on their walnut orchard. There were not neighbors. Until I looked out one evening and there was a coyote in the yard. I had a dog, 2 small children, and the chicken it didn't eat, the chickens were disposed of. And Santee, quite frankly, can't enforce the things on their muni code now. Got weeds all over town, driveways full of non-op junk, RVs still parked on the street and moved every day and thumbing their nose in their face, and barking dogs. Until I threatened to shoot the dog next door to me, nothing was done about barking dogs. So there are people who would think 5 chickens was okay, and the next one think, well, if I can have 5, I'll have 15. And no, I won't clean up the manure. So I am adamantly opposed. Hillikers is in an agricultural zone. Urban agriculture, grow your gardens, order some ladybugs to kill the insects. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Zach Coleman. I live at 9429 Lake Canyon Road. I just wanted to speak on behalf of allowing chicken coops in Santee. While I do not own any chickens myself, I have had the privilege of living a few doors down from someone who has. Honestly, living a few doors down from someone who has owned chickens, I've never encountered smells from them. I've never had any noise complaints about being able to hear the chickens. But I think we as a community can really benefit from being able to have access to local food, namely eggs that are grown right here, and they're cleaner, as you said. They don't have hormones and different chemicals in them when the eggs are produced.
The truth, I was a little chicken to speak, but I didn't want to be foul about it.
You know the mayor, don't you?
Exactly. Anyway, I don't see anything wrong, especially Santee is supposed to be a rural community with having chickens in your backyard. I've grown up with being chickens next year and it's next door. And to assume that somebody's going to send before they even have the opportunity, I don't think is really the idea why people came to this country in the first place. Anyways, thank you.
Hello, my name is Alan Stewart, and I've lived there for 18 years, and I've had chickens for 6, even though it's zone R2, which you're not allowed to have chickens. But I didn't know that until recently, because if you look up the laws, like for City of San Diego or City of Santee, like specifically, based off of like horny chickens, all it tells you, all you're gonna find is that you can have chickens in Santee if you have one for every 2,000 square feet. It doesn't say that that has to be in HL or R1. So anybody who has chickens in Santee, or who wants chickens, probably already has chickens. So, and like, I believe that raising a small number of laying hens is not only fiscally responsible, but it's a form of environmental and community sustainability. And towns across the country are changing their laws to go towards hen-friendly legislation. And their chickens, I think, are their pets, as well as like, you know, an extra part of your garden. They're not noisy animals. They go to bed when it's dark, and so they're not up all night like barking or anything. And since the proposed like thing would obviously exclude roosters, they're not going to be up early in the morning crowing either. And because I raise chickens, I know this, that chickens, they're not smelly animals. And their poop, like, 10 chickens will lay the amount that a 40-pound dog will lay in the same day. So they don't lay a lot of poop. And it doesn't smell. Like, it dries up really fast, doesn't smell. It's a great compost. You put it on anything. And they're not messy animals. They're easy to clean. And they're not like, a coop isn't a nuisance, it's not an eyesore, because most people who would build chicken coops, they're do-it-yourselfers. You know, they're the people gardening. They're the people who want to do it themselves. So it's going to look nice, and it's going to be designed for ease of cleaning, so it's going to be clean. And like I said earlier, they're not noisy. Like, the hens are quiet, and the roosters aren't. And the only time a hen would ever talk is when it lays an egg. Like, it's just like proud of me. It's basically telling me, like, look at me, like I laid you this fresh egg. It's like local. It's not, it didn't get trucked in. It's got less saturated fats and cholesterol, high omega-3s. So, you know, and it's also telling you, like, hey, you know, food prices are going to go up 4 times in the next 10 years, and here's a free egg. You know, I feed my chickens like trash, like my kitchen scraps, my stale food, my expired food, like leftovers from a restaurant. I bring it all home, I give it to them. I have friends who come over with like their chicken waste and they give it to their kitchen waste. They give it to my chickens. Like, if they didn't do that, if I didn't have chickens, that landfill in Santee would be filling up a lot faster. So, I mean, like, I love my chickens. Like, on the weekend, I hang out in my backyard just like with my chickens. Like, they're my pets, they're my friends, and I think it's time for Santee to continue to allow residents to become independent producers of their own food. With your support, City Council members, we can change the zoning laws to allow people who want to live an independent, free, and sustainable lifestyle to do so. And that's all I gotta say. Thanks for your time.
Hello. You? Yeah. How many chickens do you have?
No comment. Any other questions? Not as much as Hilker's. Like, it doesn't smell. Like, the reason Hilker's smells, which it doesn't if you drive by it, it's because they have a lot of chickens in a small area pooping in one spot. Like, my chickens, they're out walking around, digging in the dirt, you know, so they do poop, like, it gets covered up with dirt because they're digging. And so, and I clean up. I clean up like twice a day. In the morning I clean up, and then like at night if they're in the coop, I just clean it up again because I don't want flies. Like, so I'll clean it up. And if there were flies, I've seen my chickens like chase bugs. They eat, like, the only thing that the opposition was right about is that they do eat bugs. Like, they eat mosquitoes. You don't want West Nile virus? Get a chicken. They eat pincher bugs. Like, those things are nasty.
Do any of your neighbors complain about their chickens?
I have actually a letter from like all of my homeowner neighbors that are like, well, we like your chickens, we want them to stay. So they're all, everybody who's lived, I've had them for 6 years.
So the answer is no?
Yes.
Thank you.
My name is Rudy Reyes. I live at 8527 Graves Avenue, right here in Santee. As you guys know, I'm running for county supervisor. I'm at the very least thankful to you for bringing this up. I don't know if I'm one of the first ones, but I'm the one here saying, look, Santee needs to become self-sufficient. We need the ability to take care of and raise our own foods. The ability to watch over our own health. And that's exactly what this is hitting on. When running for county supervisor, I'm trying the exact same thing. I'm saying the county, we need to go back to our roots. We need the ability again to be self-sufficient. Solar self-sufficient, as you're trying to do with the same ideology I tried to present when I was running. That's the ideology we're going with now. That's the future. Again, I thank you for bringing this up. At least we're having a good time in regards to the chickens. I mean, this is kind of neat. You got to think about the fact that, I don't know if you guys were watching the paper today or saw it in the media, but they just announced that in all the feed right now for chickens is arsenic. And there are now faint levels of arsenic in all of the store-bought chickens. It was just in the media today. And I didn't know if that had any bearing as to why this was up, but I had just seen that. So time-wise, and the way you guys are hitting this is proper. So again, Randy, I thank you. This is a good thing for all of San Diego, not just Santee. The fact is, we have to realize that we have to go back to nature as a method of taking care of ourselves. It has all the solutions for the most part. It's those of us that are getting away from them through pharmaceuticals, through industrial use. And while I'm talking about the industrial use, you gotta take the moment to dissuade yourself from that ideology to what we're doing here. The industrial use of chickens, I don't know if you guys have seen Food Inc., but it's disgusting. It's horrid. They actually raise chickens in darkness so they get a faster growth period in less than 8 weeks. This is true. What we're doing here is we're trying to raise a decent animal that we know we can have for ourselves too. Thank you again.
Ken Stewart, Santee, California. Uncle Sam expects you to keep hens and raise chickens. 2 hens in the backyard for each person in the house will keep family and fresh eggs. Even the smallest backyard has room for a flock large enough to supply the house with eggs. The cost of maintaining these is small. The kitchen waste can be used to feed the chickens. This is put out by our United States Department of Agriculture. It's been a while. I haven't seen anything that they revoked it, but this was put out by our Department of Agriculture. So I kind of agree with them, and I hope the city council will kind of follow through. Let us continue to have chickens in Santee. Like some of the people have said, they do eat the bugs, they keep the yards cleaner, and they don't smell nowhere near as much as other animals, and they don't poop in any other people's yards. They're contained. Every morning I'm picking up dog poop in my front yard all the time. I love animals, I love cats, I love dogs, but the chickens, you know, like, I have chickens too, and I sit down there on the weekends and go out in the yard and read with them and just watch them. It's just peaceful back there with them. And I just hope the city, you know, makes a decision to let people go back to the roots and grow our hens. I mean, hey, the world's having a problem the way it is, like some people said. We need to grow our own food because we can trust it. We need gardens. Our whole backyard is a garden also. Maybe we'll go to the front yard. But anyway, we hope we can keep chickens in the city of Santee, and we appreciate you guys agree with us. Thank you very much.
Council questions and concerns?
What is the law now?
Councilman Vadil, I can answer that question. Our zoning ordinance provides for chickens in residential zones, but on lots that are zoned R1 or hillside limited, which are your larger lots in the city of Santee. But they're not allowed in the single-family R2 zone, which are represented by the smaller lot, 6,000 square feet.
And so I presume most of the folks here that came to talk about this are not on one of these lots.
It may be that one or two of those speakers are.
And this came to us because somebody's neighbor complained, or
No.
There's
I put it on the agenda simply because of various people sending me emails, talking to me. And tell you the truth, I thought the Union Tribune article was just cute as anything. And I liked the Channel 10 story that they did on chickens in people's yards and the La Mesa chickens.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to fill out one of your slips. I came in a little.
Excuse me, we closed that.
Oh, I apologize.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, finish.
All right, well, as someone that sells real estate for a living, I know that anytime I sell a piece of property next to Hilliker Egg Farm, we have special disclosures that we have to fill out for the flies and things of that nature. So I need to know from our city staff, you know, at what number do we start seeing these kinds of things? Because I'm afraid that this could trigger yet another disclosure, which always seems to make actual results seem worse than they are. You know, I used to sell a lot of horse property, and people always complained, you know, said the flies were terrible, even though one horse that's picked up, there's literally no flies. But I know when those homes just opened up, those brand new homes opened up right next to Hilliker Farms, that I personally saw whole walls entirely covered with black flies, and that was something that people were not too happy with when they bought into those homes before those disclosures were filled out. So I don't know that 4 or 5 chickens is going to make any difference of any kind, but I'd like to see if we can have some sort of information on that. And then I want to know what kind of minimum lot size we're talking about here, maximum number of chickens that we're talking about here per residence, and then do we have any sort of issue with contiguous properties? If you've got 5, 10 contiguous properties that all have 5 chickens, do you now have an egg farm that could produce these amount of flies? Yeah, that's the nth degree. I may be going a little bit far, but the reality is it is a possibility. We have to look. You have to prepare. You know, you prepare for the worst. You hope for the best, but you prepare for the worst. So we need to just kind of look at those types of things before we make a decision. And I'm not in support or in opposition of this. I just need more information before I can make an educated decision on what we're dealing with here.
That's why I put it on the agenda, was to see if City Council had any appetite to give staff direction to research this out. Because trust me, by the time staff is done with it, they're going to cover the city so well that, you know, we may not be able to have chickens. I don't know. Guys?
My concern on this is basically boils down to private property rights. When most people bought their home, they knew whether or not they could have chickens. When most people bought their home, they knew that they were buying into a neighborhood where they would not be smelling chickens. And to change the ordinance on people that bought there knowing they wouldn't be smelling animals, I don't know at this point in time if that's where we need to go.
I did,
Don't check it out on me.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know anything about chickens. I have a friend that has a ranch, and she got 5 or 6 chickens, just like someone said, they eat the flies, and I think they each lay an egg a day, and like someone said, they're good, and they really are. I got on the internet, and because as someone was saying, this is kind of something that's going on. I don't know if it's going on across the country, but there was quite a bit of information on there. And it did talk, someone saying they don't move, but the point was saying you need to make sure their wings are clipped. And there was questions about, is this chicken, what are the rules? Do you gotta have a chicken coop, and what does that look like? Because some guy just may throw up a box with the wires in it, and another guy does a really nice thing, and so then it's not the chickens, but it's the chicken coop you have to look at evidently. The rooster thing, I think is already been taken care of. A lot of people say there aren't orders, according to, at least on the internet, that can be an issue. That you can have a rat and fly problem if they're not kept clean. Insect control and cleanliness was a big
big deal. Made mention of stray dog and coyotes. And I think a lady said something about that would they attract predators. And it made a big point that when you have chickens in town, your city health inspector needs to do some stuff. I don't think we have a city health inspector, do we? They also made a mention about, are they, like I said before, are they a pet or are they a business? And that you really need, at this kind of thing, you need to consider them a pet. And then there was some, and you probably know more about it than I do, with that one kid was that, something they made mention of being vaccinated for Merrick's disease. Have you ever heard of that?
The thing with chickens is they don't really get diseases.
Please come forward and speak into the mic, and once again say your name. We know your address now. You're okay.
So my name is Alan Stewart, and so like with chickens, like all these diseases I hear about, like bird flu or that one, which I haven't heard about, chickens get that because they're caged up on top of other chickens and they're all defecating on themselves. So if your chickens are not dirty, they're not going to get diseased. It's like a healthy person doesn't get sick. It's the same thing.
So I guess the, thanks. If we're going to get into this, like Rob said, I don't even want to be thinking about on this one way or the other. But while we take like this young man, who obviously is doing a really, really good job, and that's real neat, there's going to be a whole bunch of people that aren't. It's going to be, Dad, I'll take care of the puppy, you'll never have to feed it. And then a year later, the damn thing is sleeping with me.
I've got 3 of those.
Yeah, and so then we got a situation of, for every good guy, we have somebody else that's causing a problem. And so then are we gonna hire somebody to enforce these chicken rules because somebody's complaining about it? And somebody said something very key to me that I already heard, was that everybody that wants chickens already has chickens. And are we enforcing any chicken laws?
On a complaint basis.
So they're doing a good job. So not getting any complaints.
I think I'm pretty happy just where we are right now.
Any other comments? Well, I think we beat this one to death. I'm not even going to try any more chicken jokes. I make a motion that we direct staff to look into urban agriculture with gardening, chicken coops, setbacks, all the regulatory items, no roosters, making sure that we either permit it or do whatever staff determines would control the chicken aspect of this, and require an urban garden so you can recycle the chicken droppings. So that's my motion, to just direct staff to investigate this, report back to council, and see where you guys want to go with it. We have 4 members here, so if it's 2-2, it don't go anywhere. So that's my motion. Do I even have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Please vote.
Motion fails with 2 aye votes, 2 no votes by Ryan and Dale, and 1 absent.
That's just foul.
I'm sorry, I was kidding.